one person at a time. So once the husband sees it, goes out, the wife comes in, she sees it. If that's the scenario, one person at a time, disinfectant wipes, wipe every surface you touch. Try not to touch any surfaces other than knobs and um, just to open doors. And then once you get back to your car, you wipe your handles, your gloves with disinfectant wipes, your steering wheel, like the works, like you would do in a store. That's how I've been doing it.
Let me just ask this. Are you, if I'm having a couple come, are you having them go in individually to see the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just comment on that real quick.
Is everyone doing that?
I don't think there's a wrong answer. It's personal preference to some extent. But what I will say is we're just from like a CDC guideline perspective and from the perspective of Coldwell Banker, we're kind of taking the stance of no more than 2 people in addition to yourself. So, partners, whoever they are, like, in the house, got to be careful on certain topics. I'll give you an example. Familial status is obviously something that's a protected class. One of the issues that comes up is, people saying, I don't want kids in the house. Like, you really, this conversation came up on a Coldwell Banker, manager call. Technically, the seller has the right. They can't discriminate against families in terms of purchasing a house or anything like that. But in terms of allowing showings, they could have certain rules, like just to protect themselves. Nothing wrong with that. Just be careful. I think use common sense on that. If it's something that's considered hateful, let's use that as the word, or discriminating, just don't do it. If it's something more, just like from a safety precautionary perspective, I don't think that there's a problem to have children go through a house as long as, it's called a parent and a child and not multiple people where there's no supervision or there's nobody like, I don't think any of you guys should be in a position where you're having to run around touching somebody's kid. Like in today's environment, like that's just not acceptable. If you could avoid having children through houses, it's better. Again, you got to do it with kids' gloves on. Like you got to be sure that you're not like offending people with these topics. But I think the best way to handle that is there's only 2 people allowed in the property at any given time. And if the seller gives specific instructions, you got to follow the seller's instructions. Like it's more difficult when you're on the listing side. On the buyer side, if you're being told like, listen, no children are allowed during showings, like you have to listen to those orders. But I would say 2 is the answer at this point until further notice. That's what we're preaching, and obviously CDC guidelines. That is put safety first. Nothing changes from my perspective on that. Like I'm not gonna, I don't care if the country's opening up, the state's opening up. Like we are opening up as well, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. I have a little bit of a presentation to show you. Short but important. But in general, like, just be smart about how you handle all this stuff. Don't be a cowboy and go out and like, put yourself at risk is really the point. Does that answer that question, Randy?
That's perfect. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Can I add something to that, Michael?
You do.
What I've been requesting, for anybody that wants to see my listings, I've asked the sellers and bring in the buyers too. You can ask the agent if they would leave every light on and every door ajar, so there's less opportunity to have to touch a light switch or a doorknob, and it just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, to Josephine's point, thank you for bringing that up because she brought up a topic that I forgot. We had so this last weekend was the first weekend that people were allowed to do open houses. And, based on the governor's orders and all that stuff. So in a manager meeting, we hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I would say like 99% of open houses that were run were done without any issue whatsoever. And by the way, I am not going to sit here and be like rah open houses. That's not the point of this conversation. I'll get to that in a second. But what I will say is the one issue that came up that was discussed was to that point, that Josephine made, where there was one particular buyer who came in and was touching everything, was like opening up every drawer and cabinet and closet and all of that. The agent was very uncomfortable. The seller, made clear instructions, please make sure that people don't touch stuff. And they literally had to say something. They said, like, listen, with all due respect, like, you can't open everything up. You can't touch all this stuff. I understand that you want to see the house, but, like, this is still a pandemic. The seller gave us specific instructions not to do that. So please, like, just respect the seller's wishes. And it ended. There was no more conversation beyond that. Again, it's very difficult to police some of these things. I understand that, but just use your better judgment. Do whatever you can to try to make sure people have some semblance of order. If you do decide, and this is really a personal decision, because again, I'm not pushing this by any means, but if you do decide to host an open house, a public open house where people are physically going to be in the home, you really got to be smart about how you run them. What we're hearing from other people is two agents coming together and doing open houses, together, where one person's like working the door and the other person's kind of giving the tours. That's one option. Another thing is just putting proper signage where in between each showing, you let one, party in, you lock the door. There's a signage that says, please wait, like showing in progress or something along those lines. Like, there's a line that formulates outside of the home. It's crazy that we're at this point, but like that is like literally what needs to be done if you choose to take that course of action, open houses. We're still recommending as a company virtual open houses. That's the preference. Since I'm on the topic, I'll speak to it. The executive order, I think it's Executive Order 152, is what allows business to commence to some degree. That did not, it allows for public open houses, but again, CDC guidelines and all that other stuff. It does not call for broker open houses. So I was on a phone call earlier today, a Zoom call rather, with the Board of Trustees, and one of the things that came up was broker opens. And Coldwell Banker hasn't really made a ruling on this one way or the other, but the board was like, broker opens are not allowed. Like, it's still not legal to host broker opens. So I'll be honest, I was a little surprised by that. But that was the consensus of the trustees. Mary Kano, everybody was like, there should be no reason that we do broker opens right now. I know we've done some of them. You guys are all independent contractors. It's illegal. It's not even difficult. It's illegal for me to put restrictions on you beyond what the law is, and for Coldwell Banker to take a stance on that. So it's not that we're like bullish and aggressive. It's not, it's not that like we're, laissez-faire. It's like we have certain parameters that we're allowed to, restrict. And with that said, like, our preference is for you to do virtual open houses. Our preference is for you to do broker open houses, not do broker open houses right now at all. If you feel adamantly about like, I have to do an open house, understood. Like, I would say that use precaution, and you certainly have to abide by the CDC guidelines at this point. I know questions are going to arise. I realize that there probably will come a point where there's going to be some pressure put on some of you, maybe not all of you, but as more and more open houses become a part of reality and other brokers are doing it and everything else, you may have sellers that put some pressure on you to do an open house. If you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. Like, just come see me, you can have a conversation. Maybe you're not the person that does it. Maybe somebody else in the office does it. Maybe I get involved and have a conversation with the seller directly to talk about the benefits of a virtual open house. Like, I'll do whatever I can to protect you guys. I'll do whatever I can to try to help you. But I'll say this, like, it's going to come down, for some of you, it's going to come down to a personal decision. Choose wisely, choose what makes the most sense for you and your family. That's really the point to all that. And I know that that's somewhat vague, but I hope that answers that question. Any questions about that? Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, Michael. Can we like request the buyer's agents to not be present at open houses? That would reduce the number of people, right?
But I mean, I don't, I don't know if that's something that's a necessity in the sense that if a buyer's agent comes to show the house, not a problem. But just keep in mind that we're only letting 2 people in the house at a time. So if they're going to come in and show it, and there's a line of people there, what I would say is like, listen, this is not the time to come do an actual showing. Schedule a private showing. And to that end, I want to add one other thing. So you guys know what procuring cause is, hopefully. Anybody in the real estate school, I hope you guys know. So procuring cause basically is who procured that sale. Who's the one that got that buyer to make a decision on that particular property. Now, procuring cause is something that's highly debated, a million times over when you get to, some of the, arbitrations and all that other stuff. But in general, one thing that's not debated at all is when you do an open house, you do not have procuring cause. So why am I telling you this? Pretty simple. Procuring cause, if you're doing a public open house and agents, called buyer's agents, because, Faria, that's what you brought up. If buyer's agents decide to send their clients in because they're lazy or they don't want to necessarily put themselves at risk, that's probably a better example, is like, hey, you know what, you go out and see it during the public open, and now they're risking all of you guys and your health. If that were to happen at a public open, there's nothing that, you don't have procuring cause. Like, you're taking on somebody else's risk. To me, like, I personally would not do that. Like, and I'm not, giving you some advice. I'm not necessarily telling you how to do your business. It's, it's up to you. But what I would say is you could also run public open houses without calling them public open houses. And I know it may seem like semantics, but you could run an advertisement that basically says something along the lines of, private showings by appointment only on Sunday from 1 to 4. That is not a public open house. You have procuring cause. Like, because you're scheduling a showing with any individual buyer who wants to see it, it protects you in many ways. Like, yes, you're taking on risk, there's no question about it, but like, to me, that's calculated risk. The argument could easily be made, well, what about my sellers? They want to get as many people in there as possible. Well, I'm not telling you to obstruct showings. Like, the point is not to say, oh, you're not allowed in and you're not allowed in. Yes, you should let, anybody who wants to show the house, you should be allowed in. But to me, like, if you could limit the amount of exposure you potentially have, I think there's a benefit to that. So that's an example that came up, on the board meeting, and I felt like it was a good one to share with you guys. Any questions about that, let me know. There are 2 things that you should be aware of in regards to that is advertising on the MLS and advertising on like sites like Zillow and all these other places, the portals. You could write into the description on the portal sites, like, hey, showings by appointment, such and such time. That's one way around it. Don't advertise it as an open house, because if you advertise it as an open house, you're basically stating that, there's not procuring cause there. On the MLS, it's a more difficult thing to do. So you would have to do it on other sites like, Facebook and all that other stuff. I mean, it's not a perfect science. I'm not trying to tell you that like everything's like, it's a slam dunk on all of this. I'm just saying, like, there's ways that you can hopefully limit your risk and still, get your sellers what they're looking for. That's all I have on that topic, unless you guys have any thoughts or questions about that.
Yeah, Michael, I'm sorry I started a little late, so I missed the first 2 minutes. But did you discuss? I'm sure you discussed whether if we take a client to see a house, whether we have to go in or not. Could we just like, I don't house up and and they can go in, or?
I think that it's a really great question. So I'm going to handle it delicately, but it's a really great question. At the end of the day, you're responsible for that client.
Right.
So if the client goes into that house and steals a watch or like pharmaceutical, like, drugs or whatever, if they steal that, it's technically your responsibility. I think that what I would do, this is always the best advice I can give you, is to protect yourselves. So what I would say is send an email to the agent and say, schedule a showing for such and such time. Like, I plan to wait outside while the client walks through and FaceTime. Or like, you could do something along those lines. Just make sure that they're aware of it, because if the seller wants to come back and says, absolutely not, I'm not willing to do that, anything along those lines, like, you should give them that disclosure and that right. Still don't think you should take on added risk, but like, either way, I mean, one is health risk, the other risk is your license. Like, so there's no blanket statement that I'm going to say that says like, oh, you're free and clear from any responsibilities related to that showing. That's just not accurate. There's nothing that's come out along those lines. I wish I had a better answer to that, but it's the truth. I will say, for the most part, it's pretty limited in terms of a lot of the inventory that's coming on is people are either not living there or vacant. I mean, there's, so that's limiting that to some extent, but
A little easier.
fair point.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? All right, so let me touch real quick about, hopefully you guys got my email about Juneteenth. I'm just going to be very full disclosure on this. It's not a holiday that I necessarily, I may have heard of it before, but I wasn't really well versed in it in years before. I think this is the first year that given all that's gone on in the world, that it's something that has been brought to my attention on a larger scale. And I was thinking about it. I had a conversation with somebody, and I kind of think obviously we celebrate 4th of July, we celebrate, I'm very patriotic by nature and all that. And I feel like, the emancipation of slavery and all that represents is as American as they come. What could be more American than that? In my mind, in terms of the land of the free. And, I feel like through all of this, I do think that Juneteenth is going to become a much more prominent holiday for years to come, forever, let's call it. And I think that that's a really great thing. Obviously, I sent you guys out an email earlier today. I hope that you listen to the advice that I gave in terms of familiarizing yourself with some of the things that are out there to educate yourself. Donna, I read that what you just wrote, that they don't teach it in school, and I agree. It should have been a holiday long ago and something that we do promote. I think it will be. It sounds like New York is making it a holiday next year. I'm sure others will fall in line. I didn't want you to think that by any means I was trying to, disrespect the holiday or any of you by hosting a meeting today. I think it's a very important day, and I just wanted to make sure that I reflected upon that before this meeting was over, and just know that I hope you guys are enjoying the holiday. I also just want to say that in terms of you've seen a lot of stuff come out as a company. You're going to see more stuff come out from our company. You're going to see more stuff come out from the Board of Realtors, from national and from the state. I've had some really nice conversations, over the past couple of weeks with different initiatives that are coming out, in regards to diversity and inclusion and equality. And I think that all of these are really great conversations to have. So, the conversation's not going to end is the point. I think that you're going to see it continue. And I really, as an office and, who we're the most diverse office in the company, hands down. And, we're probably the most diverse office that I'm aware of, not only in our market, but probably in the state. That's always been a sense of pride for me. It's something that I genuinely appreciate. I love the fact that we're a mixing pot of cultures and people. And I think that it's something that I want to lead by example and show that this is the face of real estate. This is the face of the future of real estate. And I think that it's a great thing that we're doing that. And we're trying to learn and evolve. I love the conversations I have with all of you guys. So, I appreciate all of your input. If there's something I'm missing out on, please let me know. But one reason why I did call this meeting today, just so you know, there's time-sensitive material that I wanted to release. And it has to do with, yes, we talked about, open houses, and a lot of people have reached out to me. But I had a conversation yesterday with Coldwell Banker managers about reopening of Coldwell Banker. I had a conversation today with all the trustees and regarding everything that the trustees and the board are doing. And I don't like to hold that information. I like to get it to you guys as soon as possible. So that's the reason why I called this meeting, today. I wanted to make sure that I get you all of that, and you're very welcome, Jen. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about like the reopening of the office. I think that there's a couple of things that play a role here is one, all of you, and making sure that we create a safe environment for you guys, making sure that you feel comfortable in the office, and making sure that you do your part to ensure that everybody else is safe. I know Lynn and myself are going to do the same, but what I am going to do, I'm praying that it works properly, but I'm going to try to switch over to a presentation that I have. Some of this is boring, but it's important. So I'm going to try to go through it quickly, and hopefully, can you guys see my screen? Yes, no? Oh, it says it's going over.
No.
All right, bear with me 1 second while this thing loads. Did I freeze up here?
Everything is frozen.
Yeah, everything's frozen on my end too. I think it's clicking over, so give it a minute. I appreciate your patience. That worked well. Can you see this now?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I can see
Yes.
it.
All right. Thank you for your patience while I went through that real quick. Just pull this over. So I'm going to go through, Coldwell Banker wants me to go through these slides, so I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Interrupt me if you have questions. Obviously I want to make sure that everybody's understanding what's happening. We have to follow all government mandates. No questions, we have to follow them. They're not Coldwell Banker policies in all cases. Most of them are, directly from the governor, local and state as well. So, first thing is, at all times in the office, we have to practice social distancing, CDC guidelines. You have to remain 6 feet apart. Strongly encourage you to wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Hand sanitizer will be brought into the offices, so you have it to use. Please don't steal the hand sanitizer. If you, we don't really have those problems in this office, but I've heard other people in other offices, we've had issues with that. So, be respectful of everybody else in that regard. Next.
Michael, a quick question. How are you addressing the 6 feet apart in this if you come into the office? Because the desks are close to one another. Are you going to alternate where we sit? What are we going to do?
Say that. I don't know the 100% the answer on that. It's an awesome question. There's a possibility, and I don't want to freak people out with this, but there's a possibility that we mark certain desks as usable desks and others as not.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten clear guidance on that one piece yet. I'll explain when we talk about the timelines where we still have another week plus before this is completely enforced. Not that it's not being enforced now, all of it is, but what I mean more along the lines of is, the grand reopening, so to speak, is the 29th. So it's June 29th. That's the date where all of this, it goes from status quo to kind of a shift over in what we allow in the office and all that other stuff. So that being said, there will be some more to come on this. I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring that question, but I just don't have all of the answers on that.
Thank you.
Do me a favor, hold all of your questions. I'm seeing some of these questions in here, but hold all of your questions until the end, because I think I'm going to touch upon a lot of the stuff that you're asking me. I'm getting private messages. So next thing, let me just slide through here. All right. You guys really have to do your best to monitor your own health. I'm not the police. I'm not a doctor. if you have a cough, if you have shortness of breath, if you have difficult breathing, if you have chills, repeated shakes with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, new loss of taste or smell, nausea, any of the above, do not come into the office. I can't plead with you enough. Do not come into the office if you're feeling any of these symptoms. Even if you think, oh, it's not a big deal, it's a big deal because I don't know if you realize this, but there are a lot of people in our office that look perfectly healthy. They're, some of them are even the younger people in the office that like, we have people in our office that are, in their 30s and their 20s that look perfectly healthy that have come to me and talked to me about either their health issues or the health of their children. Who has asthma and who, I'll use myself as the example. I'm 35, I'm in great health right now, but I have a pregnant wife. Like, I have little kids. Like, in a million years, I do not want to bring any of that home to my kids or to my wife. Like, I have no idea what the implications that has on, the health of a pregnant woman, or the baby. So, do whatever you can to just be cognizant of that and stay home if you're having any issues. Don't come to the office unless it's been 10 days since you or someone has been directly exposed. Just be courteous. You're allowed to return to the office 10 days from the onset of any of these symptoms, or if you're fever-free for 72 hours. Again, just don't come to the office. Contact me if there's any question, or if you've been in contact with somebody with COVID-19. There have been people that are on this call that are in our office that have been negatively impacted by COVID-19. There are people that have had COVID-19. At no point in time would I ever in a million years disclose somebody's personal health issues to anybody else in the office. So if you're worried about like, oh my God, I don't want to say anything because I don't want anybody else to know, like that is like, it's a HIPAA violation. It will never be said. I could lose my job if I shared, any of your health information. But I do need to know, and I'm going to get to it in a second. The reason I need to know primarily, in addition to just trying to keep everybody safe, is there's special cleaning practices that we have in the event that somebody gets sick. So, really just do whatever you can to try to alert me. And again, it will be kept completely confidential. Moving on to the next slide. Agents, clients, vendors are required to wear face covers at all times. You must wear face covers while conducting business outside of our office. You must wear them while in the office. There are exceptions to this rule. There are really two exceptions, and these are the only two exceptions that I'm aware of. Is if you're in a closed space, call it a conference room, nobody else is in the room, you're allowed to take your face covering off. Like if you have a private office, anything like that, you're allowed to take your face covering off. If no one else is in the office and nobody's around you, you're allowed to take your face covering off. I understand it's not comfortable to sit with a face covering on. Completely get it. On the other hand, the second somebody walks in, face covering needs to go on. At this point, it's been pretty proven that it's a rarity for this to exist on surfaces for long periods of time. So it really is like human-to-human contact. That's the biggest thing that we're worried about. Knowing that, like, just abide by the rules. I don't want to be the police. We've had a situation in another office. I'm not going to name names. So we had a situation where one of the agents decided that they're too good for face coverings and they're not going to wear one. It's wrong. It's just, I understand that, like, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but you got to consider everybody else. You can't have a situation where people are uncomfortable to come to the office. You can't have a situation where people come to the office and are putting themselves or their family at risk. So I just ask all of you guys to be really cognizant about that. I know we have a great group. I know we don't really have issues like that. Most people are, I think all of us are pretty, all about helping one another and, being cognizant of everybody else's health and all that stuff. But I don't want this to become an issue, so I'm just trying to get ahead of it now. Next slide. Sorry, this thing is slow. We do have face coverings will be available in the office, by the way. Hand sanitizer, face coverings will be made available. Space capacity is limited between 25 and 50%. This is the question that I don't really know all the answers to yet in terms of how we're actually going to govern that. I don't think that there's going to be an issue unless you guys all decide to, bum rush the office at the exact same time, which is, the only time I ever see that are office meetings, which I'm not going to be hosting any in-person office meetings anytime soon. That being said, like, I don't think we're going to reach the space capacity limits. The question is how close are desks to one another and all that, which, I'm going to try to get better answers on moving forward. Next slide. Following guidelines. This is for office cleaning. For office cleaning, for square footage less than 4,000 square feet, we'll be cleaning it every 2 to 3 days, or 2 to 3 days a week, I should say. For square footage of 4,000 square feet or more, it's 4 to 5 days a week. So we're broken up into 2 offices. Our offices will both fall below that 4,000 square feet limit. They will wipe down all surfaces, desks, tables, doorknobs, light switches, all of that. We basically normally we normally do I think it's twice a week, like once on a Friday, once on a Monday. Lynn, is that correct? I think that's what we've been doing, something along those lines. Doesn't matter, but we're
It's been Michael. It's been Friday and Monday. When COVID started, they dropped it to 1 day a week. Not really sure what day that is they come in.
Yeah, but that's going to be increased. So we dropped it to 1 day because nobody was supposed to be in the office, so it really shouldn't have been an impactful thing. Anyway, long story short, it's going to be increased. All right. Sign up for direct deposit. Almost all of you guys are on direct deposit, but especially given the scenario with COVID, you get paid faster, certainly saves time. You avoid office visits. All you got to do is go to desk and sign up today. It takes 7 to 10 business days. Really simple thing to do. And that's something that's an easy way to avoid trips to the office. By no means are we saying, hey, the office is open. Everybody, run to your desk and park there all day long. Just want you to know that, like, you have use. You could bring clients into the office to do a closing and stuff like that if you really needed to. Still have to, abide by social distancing rules. So you're not going to have a full closing with 1 million people in the office. But if an attorney came in, maybe a title person, stuff like that, that was not allowed previously. It is allowed now. Or it will be allowed on the 29th, I should say. So that's really the big difference. It's still not, there's by no means are we encouraging you to sit in the office and work all day. Personal decision, but that's really up to you. In terms of resources, I am not going to go through all of these videos, but they have videos that I'm going to send out to all of you that I welcome you to watch. It's basically, all sorts of scenarios that come up, and it walks you through the process. Obviously, we're a publicly traded company. We are, as compliant as they come. So, this is a whole series of compliance videos related to COVID-19 that should walk you through exactly what the company's stance are on any issues that, may arise. So I will send those out. If you're getting bored someday, feel free to watch them. In terms of available resources, I'm going to send this out as well. I do want to talk about this real quick. Frequently asked questions by the state. That's a link that I'll send you. Brand Serve is something that I've never spoken about, but I would strongly recommend you guys check out. It's on the CD desk. Like, all you got to do is click on the tile that says Brand Serve, and it gives you all sorts of personalized marketing material. So the reason why we're showing you this in the context of COVID is because, one of the reasons why you guys come into the office sometimes is, hey, I need to, develop, an image to put out on social media, or, I have to put together something that I want to send to clients. Brand Serve has a lot of that. That's like self-service. It's really easy to do. You can brand it to yourself. So it's just a really quick, easy resource for you to get that stuff without having to come in and worry about potentially, getting sick or anything along those lines. Just wanted to point it out. There is a COVID hub. If you click on the desk at the top of desk is basically a banner that has all COVID-19 information. And I don't know if you guys have downloaded this, but you're welcome to. There's an app. All you have to do is go into the App Store. You download Yammer, YAMMER, and Realogy Coldwell Banker has like a whole community on Yammer. I go on to it for a lot of manager-based stuff, but one of the things that's on there is a whole COVID-19 like discussion community. Think of like along the lines of Facebook, where it's interactive forum where you can post things, questions that you may have, and it pushes it out to everybody across the country. It's a good resource if you need one. Getting to the end here. We're going to send out, a whole slide of different resources, policies, and all that stuff, so you have them. Some of them are NAR, some of them are Realogy, some of them are just COVID-19 based on like geographic, cases and whatnot. Another thing that I'm going to send out, the last slide is, World Health Organization, CDC, state and local information, so you have resources in case you need them. I'm going to get off of this presentation now because we're through the slides, but I'll open it up to anybody who has questions at this time. I just covered a lot, so hopefully it was thorough enough where you got some good answers.
I have a question about the masks. The masks, there are masks online, Coldwell Banker masks. Those we buy online, right, for ourselves?
Yeah, the Coldwell Banker branded ones, something that you can buy them individually. I will openly disclose to you that they're having a significant issue, not a Coldwell Banker issue, but it's not even a manufacturer issue. The people that ordered the masks early on, all of the masks, there was like pallets of these masks that were shipped to the post office in LA. I think it's LA or LAX, like I don't remember, but they're sitting in some storage facility. The post office has like been all screwed up on this particular like pallet or multiple pallets. So they're waiting on receiving them. They haven't received them yet. For any of you guys who've ordered masks, I know it's a cluster, but the honest truth is we're kind of at the mercy of the post office. I don't think that that's going to be an ongoing issue by any means, but just know from that perspective, the branded masks, there's some delay on. For the masks that are in the office, Lynn, did we get them yet, or I don't even remember? Not yet? Okay. So we are getting a shipment of masks for the office. Listen, masks are on high demand right now. We all know that. So, I would say that use them as you need them, but, don't hand them out like Pez. Like, basically, I'm not saying that you shouldn't use them. You should all be using them. But, just be cognizant. Don't take stacks of them. We do need them for the office. We're going to need them for clients as they come in and everything else. So I don't really need to say so much more about that.
You can get masks in a lot of the stores now.
Yeah, I haven't been out. All right.
A lot of the stores have the blue masks now.
That's another topic I'm going to talk about. Me personally, you will definitely see me in the office. You are not going to see me on a regular basis. I'm going to pop in and pop out from time to time. As I just said to you guys before, I have a pregnant wife. She's due in September. I've been on strict quarantine, and I plan on remaining on pretty strict quarantine. If you think about like business as usual, many of you guys have seen this or experienced this or been part of this for years. It's nothing for me to sit in my office all day long and have a line of people outside of my office all day long with one question after the next and, kind of an exchange. One person walks in, one person walks out. That is not happening. Like, there's not even a question about it. I can't do that. And it's not that I'm not willing to help all of you. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help any one of you. But we live in a virtual world very easily. I've been working probably more hours in the past 3 months than I have ever. All of you guys have been able to reach me. If you need to reach me, call me, shoot me an email. You want to do a Zoom call, like not a problem. But there's not 6 feet of space in my office. So, you know, to sit there across from all of you guys and to have like one-on-one discussions and all that stuff face to face, it's just not safe. You know, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get my family sick, but I also don't want to be somebody that's getting you guys sick. I mean, you know, God forbid one of you got me sick and then I'm sitting there in front of 20 other people the rest of the day. Like, it's just not right to do. So what I would say is, like, by no means am I telling you I'm not working. I'm very much working, but I don't want you to have the, you know, the understanding that come the 29th, you know, it's going to be business as usual with me sitting there all day long, because that's not going to be the case. It just so happens it has nothing to do with them picking the 29th date, but I'm actually going to be away. I'm going to visit my parents upstate the week after the 29th. I'm going up for 4th of July and for my daughter's birthday. So I tell you that because I'm not even going to be, you know, present at that time anyway. I just want you to know that, especially as we get closer and closer to that September date, I don't know what the world's going to look like. I'm not trying to make predictions. I'm hoping that, you know, there's a miracle and there's a vaccine and the world goes back to normal. That would be great. But short of that, I'm not doing anything at all that jeopardizes me being in that labor and delivery room. I want to see the birth of my daughter. So I tell you that because, you know, I love all of you. I truly do. But just, you know, bear with me for the next few months, knowing my situation, and please do everything you can to, you know, stay within the guidelines so everybody else is safe as well. That's all I got on that, but I mean, I don't know if you guys have any questions about that. I'm certainly willing to address them.
Michael, it's Harvey.
Please.
The 29th day, what is that referencing to? What is the 29th? What's that?
It's a Monday.
It's not some.
Why the 29th?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, is that a Caldwell Banker date, or where's that date coming from?
Just the Coldwell Banker's decision. I think I'm projecting a little bit. Like, I don't know, this is somewhat opinion, but I think that, like, the world tends to be opening up right now. And I think that the thought process is, you know we have to open up at some point, and we have to, you know, move in that direction as a society. And, you know, all of us have different comfort levels. I get it. I think that what Coldwell Banker's thoughts are on that is a couple of things. Like, one, they're delaying it 2 weeks beyond, like, what the governor's orders are and what most of the country is opening up. Within 2 weeks' time, we should have a little bit of a better understanding of, is there another, you know, like, you know, change in the curve? Like, you know, are we seeing, you know, a sudden and crazy rise in the amount of people that, you know, are infected? Obviously, with all that's going on in society right now, with, you know, protests and everything else, like, that is a possibility. Like, and it's not just protests, by the way. It's protests plus it's people all across the country that are opening up and going out and you know, being around people. There's a distinct possibility that these numbers may rise in the next week. I'm praying that they don't, but if they do, they're going to change that. Like, it's not going to be the 29th, and we'll have a different conversation. But at this point, they wanted to make sure that we give ample notice to everybody. Keep in mind, this is not just impacting you guys as agents, it's impacting all of our employees. So from an employee perspective, we did not want, think of childcare. That's an easy example. How many admins, like, you know, have children at home, and now they have to make accommodations to, you know, their children are not necessarily in school. They have to make accommodations to, you know, get childcare. We had to give people 2 weeks notice. You know, we made these announcements internally in the last few days, so it really was it was a 2 week turnaround time. We are willing to work with people, you know, based on their needs. I know Lynn and I had a discussion. You know, Lynn, I don't want to speak for you, but I know Lynn has been coming into the office, is willing to continue to come into the office. But I got to tell you guys, like, that's another thing, is I want to keep Lynn safe. Like, you know, Lynn has been unbelievable to, you know, for all of us in doing whatever it takes to get you guys paid on time. She's been invaluable to me personally, as I've had my own personal issues with going in and out of the office because of Kristen. You know, so it doesn't only apply to all of you, but it applies to, you know, everybody, our staff, Lynn especially. Like, you know, in general, we have to do everything possible to try to be smart about this. And I pray that there's not going to be a second wave. I think we are all in the same, same boat on that. We pray there's not going to be, further issues related to this. But, I don't think it's like crazy to think that there might be. And knowing that, like, this is a moving target. Like, this may change over time. Things may, may get better, may get worse. I don't know. But I can assure you that as things come up, we're going to discuss it. There's not going to be, if we need to pivot, if, a week from now things change and we need to pivot, we're going to pivot. Like, it wouldn't be crazy for me to have a phone call or a Zoom call rather with all of you guys next week and say, you know what, we pushed the date back because X, Y, and Z. But kind of at some point you gotta move forward, and I think that's what, as a country, they're doing. This is not New Jersey based. I should also point that out. This is across the country. You're making this decision, and it's a case-by-case scenario across the country with what we're doing. You guys might not realize this, but we had to furlough Carol Baker and Sylvia Santana in our, who are admins in our Short Hills office. Lynn has been doing an unbelievable job covering not only our office, but covering our Short Hills office, along with Carol Rule from our Summit office. So we're very fortunate at this point that we are able to bring back Carol Baker. So she'll be joining us back Monday. Is that correct, Lynn? I think this Monday. So I think that's going to alleviate some of the pressures, hopefully, that we've had, most specifically on Lynn. But I think that in general, like, we are as a company and as a society, we're trying to move back to to a reopening of the country, and it's to be seen. It's to be seen. So I appreciate the question, but I think that's kind of what went into that is to let's dip our toe in the water and see how things go, but give it 2 weeks so we see how the rest of the country goes first.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I have a question. So when the office reopens, is there going to be floor time? And is there a way to do floor time virtually, like to bounce the phone number to people's phones so they can do it?
So I love that question, but I don't have a good answer for you, is the honest truth. I will find out the answer, but it's funny because we had all these conversations and not once was floor time brought up. I'm fairly certain, and I'll confirm this, but I'm fairly certain that we're not going to do like you sitting at a desk at the up desk anytime soon. I don't think that's going to happen. But in terms of call forwarding, I do think that's something that we could probably do. I know that's something that we can do. I have no problem looking into that. But there's going to be some issues related to that as well, just like full disclosure, because if you get the call forwarded to your cell phone, you can't just hit 4 buttons and hit transfer to move it on to an agent that it needs to go to. If you don't have the sheet in front of you of everybody's phone numbers, like, there's issues related to that. So it's not as simple as just saying like, yeah, we're going to switch it over and do call forwarding. I don't know what all that will look like, and it's a really great question. I appreciate your asking it, but I don't have an easy answer for it.
Okay. Maybe if it's a call that needs to be sent to another agent, since it's kind of a public extension, for example, we could maybe give it out to a person who needs to talk to the agent directly if they don't have it, or I don't know, I had another idea, but it slipped my mind. It'll come back to me.
No worries.
Can I just say, man, I mean, obviously you can give them their cell phone.
Yeah.
Right. We can get the sheet, we can get the sheet and.
Right. You'd be able to. I'm not sure. See, right now, if anybody leaves a message, because after 4 rings, it comes to my desk. And if anybody leaves a message now, I actually get the message in my email. I mean, there's a lot of hangups and there's a lot of telemarketing, but if somebody's looking for some specific rental, I get that email.
Right.
I'm not sure how, we'd have to find out how that's going to work.
I know what we've been doing is
individual call.
Rita's been sending it to the listing agent, you know, time to the time. But I think that there's a way to do this. Listen, one thing I'll throw out there is this is certainly a democracy. This is not a dictatorship. So if you guys, you know, if you feel strongly about like, oh, this is a way to do it, shoot me an email. You know, I'm happy to review, you know, any ideas that you guys have, and you know, I'll certainly pass it through, you know, the powers that be internal to Coldwell Banker to see if we could find something that works for all of you. I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not like, wow, this is the best answer. We have to figure that out, because using the example we just gave is like, all right, somebody says, oh, I want to talk to Michael Panisi. Well, if you don't have the sheet in front of you and my phone number is not in your phone, what do you do? Like, now we have a problem. So I just want to make sure that we handle that properly before we like put a system in place for it. I agree. I would rather have somebody live on the phone picking up calls. Like, completely agree with that sentiment. It's a good.
We don't even have to wait till the 29th to do that.
No, we don't. Which is why I say, like, I'm open to any ideas you have, and we can certainly, you know, we can figure that out. Any other questions you guys have? No? All right. Lynn, you have anything you want to add?
I guess I just wanted to say, I mean, we're 3 months into the wiring now for commissions, and it seems to have gotten a lot better than it was in the beginning. There are certain title companies that don't wire, and that's okay, because we're happy to take a check if they don't wire. We are, you know, it is busy. So as soon as you can get me your commission requests, is always appreciated, as opposed to the day of. And, but for the most part, the title companies sometimes are a little, you have to kind of keep prodding them for the wire confirmation and the HUD, but we definitely need both those documents in order to process your commission. So.
Lynn, I'd like to put you on the spot real quick, and you could tell me that you don't want to talk about this because you haven't had a lot about it, but do you have anything you want to share on my deals yet?
No.
Well said.
I mean, it's actually not happening until July 15th, so we haven't even really talked much about that. So, we meaning Michelle Gallo and.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been run through and trained on it yet and all that stuff, but you know, just to kind of put it on your radar, and it's coming. You're going to get information about something called My Deals. We're going to definitely do some sessions about it coming up and all that other stuff. You know, call it for next month. Don't tune out on that subject. That's something that you definitely are going to want to pay attention to. We're moving in a different direction in terms of how we do online forms and, you know, how we process deals and everything like that. It should greatly help with efficiency for both like internal to us and for you guys as well. So I think it's going to be a really nice step in the right direction. I'm not going to overpromise because, you know, we got to see some of it, and I'm sure there's going to be glitches as there always are. You know, that's just life. But I think that it's a really positive direction that they're moving in. So I just wanted to put that out there. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm done actually. Well, I got one other thing, but
I have a question.
please.
Can we see you play your guitar in the next meeting?
No, because I have no idea how to play it.
You've been doing that since day one.
A lot more practice on is I got a Peloton, and I've been like crushing the Peloton. I love that thing. But I picked that guitar up probably 4 times since I've owned it, and 3 of those times were to steal it away from my daughter who was trying to like throw it. So I love to learn the guitar, but I spend way too much time dealing with real estate. One last thing, and then I'm done. Happy Father's Day to everybody who is celebrating. I will tell you, as much as I love you guys, it is by far the best job that I have in the history of my life. Can't tell you how much I love being a father, and I know we have a lot of great fathers in our office, and a lot of men that do some amazing things, with children that are not even their own in some cases. So salute to all of you guys, and I just hope you enjoy the weekend. Hope all of you guys enjoy the weekend, and hope you have a really nice holiday today as well. I see Faria, were you trying to raise your hand or no? No. All right. Have an awesome weekend, guys. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.
Happy Father's Day, Michael. Thanks.
Very much.
Everybody.
Take care.
Michael, can I jump on a call with you real quick after the meeting? I didn't hear you.
Yes, I'm gonna call you right now.
Okay, sure. Thanks.